Welcome to Bible Quizzes. Let's see how well you know the word. Let's begin. 1. How many types of offering are specifically outlined in the first chapters of Leviticus? 2, 5, 7, 10. 5. Leviticus 1:7. Burnt offering, grain offering, peace offering, sin offering, and guilt offering. 2. What was the purpose of the sin offering in Leviticus? To atone for sins committed unintentionally, to celebrate the harvest, to dedicate the priest, to offer thanksgiving. To atone for sins committed unintentionally. Leviticus 4:2-3. If anyone sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, he must bring a sin offering. 3. In Leviticus, who was allowed to eat the meat of the sin offering? Anyone in the congregation, the priest who offered it, the high priest only. The offering was completely burned. The priest who offers it. Leviticus 6:26. The priest who offers it as a sin offering shall eat it. I must be eaten in the sanctuary area. 4. What was the consequence for consuming blood according to Leviticus? Temporary exile from the camp. The person was to be cut off from their people. They had to offer an additional sacrifice. They had to fast for 7 days. The person was to be cut off from their people. Leviticus 17:10. And I will set my face against the person who eats blood, and will cut him off from his people. 5. On the Day of Atonement, what animal was symbolically used to carry away the sin of Israel? A bull, a goat, a lamb, a dove. A goat. Leviticus 16:22. The scapegoat shall carry on itself all their sins to a remote place. 6. According to Leviticus, what were the Israelites commanded not to do during the sabbatical year? Sow their field or prune their vineyards. Offer sacrifices at the tabernacle. Harvest wheat for the priest. Build new houses. Sow their fields or prune their vineyards. Leviticus 25:3-4. For 6 years you are to sow your fields and harvest the crops, but in the 7th year the land is to have a year of rest. 7. In Leviticus, what was the punishment for blaspheming the name of the Lord? Exile, 40 lashes, stoning to death, paying a fine. Stoning to death. Leviticus 24:16. Anyone who blasphemed the name of the Lord is to be put to death. The entire assembly must stone them. 8. What specific offerings were required from the Israelites during the Feast of Weeks? Shabbat in Leviticus. Grain, wine, and oil. 2 loaves of bread and animal sacrifices. Offering of incense and gold. Unleavened bread and burnt herbs. Two loaves of bread and animal sacrifices. Leviticus 23:17-18. Present with this bread 7 male lambs, each a year old and without defect, 1 young bull and 2 rams. 9. According to Leviticus, what is the Jubilee year and what was to happen during this time? Every 7 years, death were cancelled, Every 49 years, property was returned and the slaves were freed. Every 100 years, the nation celebrated peace. Every 10 years, a national fast was declared. Every 49 years, property was returned and the slaves were freed. Leviticus 25:10 consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. 10. In Leviticus, what were the priests commanded to do to remain clean when offering sacrifices? Wash their hands and feet. Wear white linen garments. Offering incense before sacrifices. Avoid talking while making offerings. Wash their hand and feet. Leviticus 8:6 Aaron and his sons are to wash their hand and feet with water from it. 11. What did Moses remind the Israelites regarding the manna they ate in the wilderness? It tastes like honey. It was a test of their obedience. It was meant for the priests only. It was gathered only during the Day of Atonement. It was a test of their obedience. Deuteronomy 8:3 He humbled you, causing you to hunger, and then feeding you with manna, to teach you that man does not live on bread alone. 12. What mountain did Moses claim to see the promised land before his death? Mount Sinai, Mount Carmel, Mount Nebo, Mount Zion. Mount Nebo. Deuteronomy 34:1 Then Moses climbed Mount Nebo from the plain of Moab. There the Lord showed him the whole land. 13. According to Deuteronomy, what must the king of Israel do upon taking the throne? Offer a sin offering. Write a copy of the law for himself. Build a temple. Distribute the land. Write a copy of the law for himself. Deuteronomy 17:18 When he takes the throne of his kingdom, he is to write up for himself on a scroll a copy of this law. 14. What did God promise the Israelites if they fully obey him? According to Deuteronomy, they will become king of all the nations. They will become a prosperous and blessed people. They will live in palace in the promised land. They will be exempt for following other nation laws. They will become a prosperous and blessed people. Deuteronomy 28:2 All these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. 15. In Deuteronomy, what reason is given for the Israelites 4 years of wandering in the desert? They lacked food and water. They were being disciplined for their rebellion. They were protecting their livestock. They refused to appoint judges. They were being disciplined for their rebellion. Deuteronomy 8:2-4 For 4 years I led you through the wilderness, yet your clothes did not wear out. 16. What was the main reason God commanded the Israelites to destroy the Canaanites according to Deuteronomy? To prevent intermarriage and idolatry, to gain access to their silver and gold, to prove their military strength, to expand their land quickly. To prevent intermarriage and idolatry. Deuteronomy 7:2-4 Make no treaty with them, for they will turn your children away from following me to serve other gods. 17. What type of animals were Israelites permitted to eat according to Deuteronomy? Only animals that are scavengers. Only animals that does not have hooves. Animals that shoot the cat and have cloven hooves. Only birds and fish. Animal that shoot the cat and have cloven hoof. Deuteronomy 14:6. You may eat any animal that has a divided hoof and that shoot a cat. 18. What did Moses warn the Israelites about when they entered the Promised Land? They might forget the Lord if they became prosperous. Deuteronomy 6:11-12. When you eat and are satisfied, be careful that you do not forget the Lord. 19. What instruction did Moses give regarding war in Deuteronomy? Offer peace terms first before attacking. Destroy the crop of your enemies. Flee from battle in unnumbered. Seek alliance with neighboring nations. Offer peace terms first before attacking. Deuteronomy 20:10. When you march up to attack a city, make its people an offer of peace. 20. In Deuteronomy, which cities were designated as city of refuge? City of the tribe of Judah. Any city near a river. Certain cities where accidental killers could flee. Only cities within the Promised Land. Certain cities where accidental killers could flee. Deuteronomy 19:2-4. Set aside for yourself 3 cities in the land the Lord your God is giving you. Anyone who kills a person accidentally may flee there. 21. Who was the Persian king that allowed the exiles to return to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple? Darius, Artaxerxes, Cyrus, Xerxes. Cyrus. Ezra 1:1. In the first years of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus, king of Persia, to make a proclamation throughout his throne. 22. What was the primary purpose of the return of the exiles in the book of Ezra? To reclaim their ancestral lands, to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, to reestablish the monarchy, to train a new generation of priests. To rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. Ezra 1:3. Any of his people among you may go up to Jerusalem in Judah and build the temple of the Lord, the God of Israel. 23. Who was appointed to oversee the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem? Ezra, Zerubbabel, Nehemiah, Joshua. Zerubbabel, Ezra 3:8. Then Zerubbabel son of Shealtiel and Joshua son of Josedek set to work to rebuild the house of God in Jerusalem. 24. How did the elder of the people react when the foundation of the temple was laid? They rejoiced loudly. They wept aloud. They protested against the construction. They called for a fast. They wept aloud. Ezra 3:12. Many of the older priests and Levites and family heads who had seen the former temple wept aloud when they saw the foundation of this temple being laid. 25. What challenge did the people of Judah face during the rebuilding of the temple? Famine, opposition from their enemies, lack of materials, internal dispute. opposition from their enemies. Ezra 4:4. Then the peoples around them set out to discourage the people of Judah and make them afraid to go on building. 26. Which person king halted the construction of the temple after the enemies of Judah wrote to him? Cyrus, Darius, Xerxes, Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes. Ezra 4:24. Thus the word on the house of God in Jerusalem came to a standstill until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. 27. What was the role of the prophet Haggai and Zechariah in the book of Ezra? They opposed the rebuilding of the temple. They encouraged the people to resume construction. They led the people back to Babylon. They built the walls of the city. They encouraged the people to resume construction. Ezra 5:1. Now Haggai the prophet and Zechariah the prophet, a descendant of Iddo, prophesied to the Jews in Judah and Jerusalem in the name of the God of Israel, who was over them. 28. Which person can allow the resumption of the temple construction after reviewing the historical records? Cyrus, Darius, Xerxes, Artaxerxes. Darius. Ezra 6:1. Then King Darius issued an order, and they searched in the archive stored in the treasury at Babylon. 29. How did King Darius support the rebuilding efforts of the Jews? By providing material from his own treasury. Ezra 6:9. Whatever is needed, young bulls, rams, male lambs for burnt offerings to the God of heaven, are to be given them daily without fail. 30. What festival did the Israelites celebrate once the temple was completed? The Feast of Tabernacle, Passover, the Day of Atonement, the Feast of Weeks. Passover. Ezra 6:19. On the 14th day of the first month, the exiles celebrate the Passover. 31. According to Ecclesiastes, what is the ultimate fate of both the wise and the foolish? Eternal life for the wise, death for the foolish. Both face the same end, death. The wise will prosper and the foolish will suffer. The foolish will be forgotten, but the wise will be remembered. Both face the same end, death. Ecclesiastes 2:14. The same fate overtakes them both. 32. What does Ecclesiastes say about the pursuit of pleasure? It brings lasting joy. It is meaningless. It leads to wisdom. It is a gift from God. It is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 2:1. I say to myself, come now, I will teach you with pleasure to find out what is good, but that also proved to be meaningless. 33. What is described as a chasing after the wind in Ecclesiastes? Building wealth, seeking wisdom, chasing success, all human efforts. All human effort. Ecclesiastes 1:14. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. 34. In Ecclesiastes, what is said to be better than laughter? Sorrow, silence, anger, wisdom. Sorrow. Ecclesiastes 7:3. Sorrow is better than laughter, because a sad face is good for the heart. 35. What is the main conclusion of the teacher at the end of Ecclesiastes? To accumulate wealth, to enjoy life without concern, to fear God and keep His commandments, to avoid all form of pleasure. To fear God and keep His commandments. Ecclesiastes 12:13. Now has been heard. Here's the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. 36. According to Ecclesiastes, what does the author claim about the future? The future is full of prosperity. It is beyond our control and unknowable. It is revealed through dreams and visions. Only the wise can understand it. It is beyond our control and unknowable. Ecclesiastes 8:7. Since no one knows the future, who can tell someone else what is to come? 37. What does Ecclesiastes say is better than riches or wealth? A good name, wisdom, power, happiness. A good name. Ecclesiastes 7:1. A good name is better than fine perfume, and the day of death better than the day of birth. 38. What does Ecclesiastes say about the dead and the living? The dead are forgotten, but the living are remembered. The dead are better off than the living. The living have no advantage over the dead. The living are happier than the dead. The dead are better off than the living. Ecclesiastes 4:2. I declare that the dead who had already died are happier than the living who are still alive. 39. In Ecclesiastes, what is said about the role of time in human life? Time is fleeting, so enjoy every moment. There is a time for every purpose under heaven. Time is irrelevant in the face of eternity. Time heals all wounds. There is a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heaven. 40. According to Ecclesiastes, what doth the author say about oppression and comfort? The oppressed find comfort in their tears. There is no comfort for the oppressed, and the oppressor have power. The oppressed are comforted by God. Comfort is meaningless in the face of suffering. There is no comfort for the oppressed, and the oppressor have power. Ecclesiastes 4:1. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of their oppressors. 41. How does the bride describe her beloved in Song of Songs? As a mighty king, as a shepherd, as a gazelle or a young stag, as a lion. As a gazelle or a young stag. Son of Songs 2:9. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. 42. What is the significance of the rose of Sharon mentioned in Son of Songs? It symbolizes purity. It represents the beauty of the bride. It signifies wealth and abundance. It refers to a barren land. It represents the beauty of the bride. Son of Songs 2:1. I'm a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valley. 43. What is the bride compared to among thorns in Son of Songs? A rose, a lily, a dove, a fig tree. a lily. Son of Songs 2:2. Like a lily among thorns is my darling among the young women. 44. In Son of Song, how is the bride described when she is referred to as the Shulamite? She's dancing. She's resting under a tree. She's preparing a fast. She's singing. She's dancing. Son of Songs 6:13. Why will you gaze on the Shulamite as on the dance of Mahanaim? 45. What fruit does the bride compare her beloved to under the shade of a tree? An apple. Son of Songs 2:3. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest is my beloved among the young men. 46. What does the bride say about love in Son of Songs? Love is a fleeting emotion. Love is as strong as death. Love is a gift from God. Love is sweet like honey. Love is as strong as death. Son of Songs 8:6. Place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm, for love is as strong as death, its jealousy unyielding as the grave. 47. How does the beloved refers to the bride's eyes in Son of Songs? Like pools of water, like doves, like sparkling gems, like stars. Like dove. Son of Songs 4:1. Your eyes are dove behind your veil. 48. What does the bride ask the daughter of Jerusalem not to do in Son of Songs? To envy her love, to stir our awakening love until it pleases, to reveal her secrets, to hinder her relationship with her beloved. To stir up or awaken love until it pleases. Son of Songs 3:5. Do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. 49. In Son of Song, how is the bright hair described? Like silk, like a flock of goats, like flowing water, like strand of gold. Like a flock of goats. Son of Songs 4:1. Your hair is like a flock of goats descending from the hill of Gilead. 50. How is the bright neck compared in Son of Songs? Like a tower of ivory, like a pillar of marble, like a cedar tree, like a palm tree. Like a tower of ivory. Son of Songs 7:4. Your neck is like an ivory tower. 51. What is the main theme of Paul's letters to the Thessalonians? The law, the second coming of Christ, the role of woman in the church, spiritual gift. The second coming of Christ. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God. 52. How does Paul describe the Thessalonians in the opening of his letter? As unworthy, as faithful, as rebellious, as lost. As faithful. 1 Thessalonians 1:1. To the church of the Thessalonians, in God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ, grace and peace to you. 53. In 1 Thessalonians, what does Paul encourage the believers to do in their faith? To abandon their faith, to spread rumors, to live in holiness and love, to confirm the worldly standards. to live in holiness and love. 1 Thessalonians 4:7. For God doth not call us to be impure, but to live a holy life. 54. In 1 Thessalonians, what does Paul say about the fate of those who have died in Christ? They will rise first. 1 Thessalonians 4:15. According to the Lord's word, we tell you that we who are still alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will certainly not precede those who have fallen asleep. 55. What does Paul say about the day of the Lord in 1 Thessalonians? It will come as a thief in the night. It will be a day of celebration. It will be announced with trumpet. It will be predictable. It will come as a thief in the night. 1 Thessalonians 5:1-2. But concerning the time and the season, brothers, you have no need to have anything written to you, for you yourself are fully aware that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. 56. What does Paul encourage believers to do in relation to prophecy? Ignore it, test it, accept all without questions, preach only about it. Test it. 1 Thessalonians 5:20-21. Do not treat prophecies with contempt, but test them all. Hold on to what is good. 57. In his letter, what does Paul say about the importance of prayer? It is optional. It should be done occasionally. It is essential and continual. It is only for leaders. It is essential and continual. 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Pray continually. 58. How does Paul describe his ministry among the Thessalonians? As burdensome, as gentle and caring, as self-serving, as distant. As gentle and caring. 1 Thessalonians 2:7. We were like young children among you, just as a nursing mother cared for her children. 59. What does Paul emphasize about the return of Jesus in 1 Thessalonians? It is uncertain. It is a distant event. It should be eagerly awaited. It is irrelevant. It should be eagerly awaited. 1 Thessalonians 1:10. And to wait for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from dead, Jesus who rescued us from the coming wrath. 60. How does Paul encourage the Thessalonians to stand firm in their faith? By isolating themselves, by relying on human wisdom, by holding on to the teaching they receive, by seeking worldly approval. By holding on to the teachings they received. 2 Thessalonians 2:15. So then, brothers and sisters, stand firm and hold fast to the teachings we pass on to you. 61. What does Paul urge Timothy to do regarding the teaching he received? Ignore them, guard them, modify them, share them only with leaders. Guard them. 1 Timothy 6:20. O Timothy, guard the deposits entrusted to you. 62. In 1 Timothy, what does Paul say about the love of money? It is the root of all kind of evil. It is a blessing. It should be pursued. It is necessary for happiness. It is the root of all kind of evil. 1 Timothy 6:10. For the love of money is a root of all kind of evil. 63. What qualification does Paul list for overseers in 1 Timothy? Must be wealthy, must be a skilled orator, must be above reproach and faithful to their spouse, must be young and energetic. Must be above reproach and faithful to their spouse. 1 Timothy 3:2. Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife. 64. What shall Timothy do with his spiritual gift according to Paul? Keep it secret. Use it without hesitation. Neglect it. Shove it off. Use it without hesitation. 1 Timothy 4:14. Do not neglect your gift, which we have given you through prophecy. 65. What does Paul instruct Timothy to be in his speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity? An example, a follower, a critic, a judge. An example, 1 Timothy 4:12. Set an example for the believer in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. 66. What does Paul say in the purpose of the law in 1 Timothy 1? To create confusion, to provide salvation, to reveal sin, to establish power. To reveal sin. 1 Timothy 1:8. We know that the law is good if one uses it properly. 67. How does Paul describe the faith of Timothy's mother and grandmother? Weak, indifferent, sincere, uncertain. Sincere. 1 Timothy 1:5. Have been reminded of your sincere faith, which first living in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice. 68. What does Paul warn Timothy to avoid in his ministry? Healthy discussion, foolish controversies, generosity, prayer. Foolish controversies. 1 Timothy 4:7. Have nothing to do with irrelevant, silly myth. 69. What does Paul emphasize about women in the church? 1 Timothy 2. They should not speak at all. They should dress modestly and learn in quietness. They should lead the church. They should only teach children. They should dress modestly and learn in quietness. 1 Timothy 2:9. Women should adorn themselves in proper clothing with modesty and self-control. 70. How does Paul suggest that the church should care for widows? Only provide for rich widows. Ignore their needs. Help those who are truly in need. Only provide for young widows. Help those who are truly in need. 1 Timothy 5:3. Give proper recognition to those widows who are really in need. 71. What role does faith play in the life of believers according to Paul and Titus? It's irrelevant. It should be kept secret. It leads to good works. It's only for the elders. It leads to good works. Titus 3:5. He saved us not because of the righteous thing we had done, but because of his mercy. 72. What is the main reason Paul wrote a letter to Titus? To provide a story of the church, to address false teachings and establish church order, to report on his travels, to discuss financial matters. To address false teachings and establish church order. Titus 1:5. The reason I left you in Crete was that you might put in order what was left unfinished. 73. How does Paul describe the people of Crete in Titus? As wise and righteous, as always liars, evil brutes, and lazy gluttons, as faithful and honest, as humble and kind. As always liars, evil brutes, and lazy gluttons. Titus 1:12. One of Crete's own prophets has said, Cretans are always liars, evil brutes, lazy gluttons. 74. What does Paul instruct Titus to teach older men to be? Angry and critical, temperate, worthy of respect, and self-controlled, wealthy and influential, ignorant of the law. Temperate, worthy of respect, and self-control. Titus 2:2. Teach the older men to be temperate, worthy of respect, self-control. 75. What does Paul say about the importance of good deeds in the life of a believer? They are optional. They should be hidden. They are a reflection of one faith. They should be done for show. They are a reflection of one faith. Titus 2:7. In everything set then an example by doing what is good, in your teaching show integrity. 76. How does Paul describe the grace of God in Titus? As a license to sin, as something to be ignored, as teaching us to say no to ungodliness, as irrelevant to daily life. As teaching us to say no to ungodliness. Titus 2:11. For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. 77. What does Paul say about submission to authorities in Titus? This is unnecessary. It is important for every believer. It is a sign of weakness. It should be resisted. It is important for every believer. Titus 3:1. Remind the people to be subject to rulers and authorities, to be obedient. 78. In Titus, what does Paul emphasize about the kindness and love of God? It is conditional. It appeared when we were good. It is revealed in the gospel. It is based on our works. It is revealed in the gospel. Titus 3:4-5. But when the kindness and love of God our Savior appear, He saves us. 79. What does Paul instruct about quarreling and division among believers? They should be encouraged. They should be avoided. They are a sign of maturity. They are irrelevant. They should be avoided. Titus 3:9. But avoid foolish controversies, genealogies, and arguments, and quarrels about the law. 80. What should be the primary focus of a church leader according to Titus? Their personal ambition, the teaching of sound doctrine, the pursuit of wealth, the approval of man. The teaching of sound doctrine. Titus 2:1. You, however, must teach what is appropriate to sound doctrine. Tell your score and post in the comments.
Great job! Don't forget to like, subscribe for more Bible Challenge.